October 19th will be the 42nd general election. There is currently a lot of speculation as to when the election will actually be called or when it will start. Normally, an election is approximately 37 days. In fact, under the Election Act, an election can be less than 37 days, and the last several have been. And that would mean that the election would be called on or about September 13th. Well, on September 13th, it was going to be 37 days. But there's a lot of speculation that the Prime Minister might actually visit the Governor General earlier and have a longer election period, maybe as long as 80 days. And there's some speculation that the election might actually be called in the first week of August. What does this mean for Canadians? Well, it changes dramatically the rules regarding how much parties can spend and how much third parties like unions and industry associations can spend. You may have noticed that some of the public sector unions are taking out ads against the Conservative government. They're free to spend as much money on advertising outside of a Writ period as they want to. However, once an election is formally called, they're limited to some pretty restrictive caps as to how much they can spend either advocating for or against a party or a cause. On the other side of the equation, the parties also can spend as much as they want outside of a Writ, but are limited to how much they can spend during a campaign period, and that amount increases considerably the longer the Writ carries on. So the Conservative Party has the most money in the bank, so it would arguably be to their advantage to have a longer Writ period, therefore limiting the third party's ability to campaign against them outside the Writ period, and they still have more money than the other two major parties to campaign for a longer than a 37-day Writ period. From my perspective, it also matters a great deal because as an independent candidate not affiliated with a political party, I cannot issue tax receipts until three things happen. Number one, the election gets called. 2, I file my papers. 3, I'm declared a candidate, and then and only then can I issue tax credit receipts to start my fundraising. So it would be to my advantage if the election actually were called earlier or as early as next week, but it's entirely out of my hands, and there's nothing that I can do about it, so we'll just sit back and wait and see what happens one way or another. I'm looking forward to the election on October 19th.